सर्च ऑपरेशन के लिए
क्योंकि
ऊपर
देवनाथ
तो
जी
चढ़ेगी।
आपके पास हम आएंगे फिलहाल, क्योंकि आज बजट का ऐलान हुआ है, बजट आज पेश किया गया है और वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन इस वक्त एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रही हैं, आइए सुन लेते हैं।
You're eager to know what is in the budget and also seek clarification. For your, just for a matter of drawing your attention, we've put up a single slide which has used the word employment as an acronym to capture that is everything in the budget. So each letter actually highlights the important points of the budget, and we can elaborate more on that a bit later. But employment captures everything to do with this budget, and I would like you to, for a moment, spend a time on it. And deriving from that, everything which has been said in the budget falls in place. But with that said, yes, your question is on the point there is we wanted to simplify the approach to taxation, also for the capital gains. One. Second, if anything, the average taxation actually has come down when we say it is 12.5%. Because we've worked out for each of the different asset classes, each varied with the indexation. I'll ask secretaries to elaborate on it. But the point that we brought it down from below the average to 12.5, which is the lowest if you can look at the last several years, encourages investment in the markets. With that said, I'll ask Somanathan or who is going to elaborate, Sanjay, on the specifics.
So you had, there were, I think, two or more parts to your question. One was on real estate and gold and other assets. So earlier the rate was 20% with indexation. It has now been reduced to 12.5% without indexation. If you assume that the rate of return on real estate is typically above 10% per annum, and if you take inflation at about 4% per annum, the real rate of return was earlier, let's say, somewhere between 6 and 16% per annum in real estate. If it was 16%, 20% of 16% was being taxed. The effective rate was 16%. It has gone down to 12.5%. If the rate of return was 10% per annum nominal, it has also remained approximately the same at 12.5%. So actually there is either a reduction or no change in respect of the effective rate of tax on property and gold. Now, as regards the equity, yes, it has gone up from 10 to 12.5, but you'll also find that unlisted equity has gone down from 20 with indexation to 12.5 without indexation. Basically, we have a very, very simple, easy regime. All listed, all unlisted are at 12.5% long term. And all are at 20%, equities are at 20% and everything else is at applicable rate for short term. So yes, short term has gone up, and yes, long term has been rationalized. It has not necessarily gone up. And Sanjay, would you like to add anything?
One point I would like to add over here is that we also need to keep in mind as to the kind of people who are actually paying these taxes, the capital gains on the securities, the listed securities especially. And so over there, when we did this analysis for the year 22-23, we found that about 88% of the tax is actually coming from people who have an income of more than 15 lakh. 61% of that income is actually coming from people who have an income of more than 1 crore.
That is income on capital gains on this.
And we are all aware that otherwise, the standard rate is, about 30%. And for some, it can go up to 39%. So this marginal, very small marginal increase is actually impacting only those, primarily those who have an income of more than 15 lakh rupees per year.
Okay, number 3.
On capital gains.
Ma'am, Timsi Jaipuria from CNBC TV 18. You announced a very
You announced a very lucrative new tax regime with changes in